closer. Don't focus at all.
Hello and welcome to another episode of StuntBunny Gaming, where we will be analyzing one of the most popular video games in all of history in order to learn more about its maniacal final boss and its origins. This video game is called Majora's Mask. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was released in 2000 for the N64, and is considered by critics and gamers alike to be by far the darkest Zelda game in the whole series, and this label is still true to date. Huge moons being summoned from the sky to crush the world and kill every living creature on its surface. Innocent young girls with zombies for fathers. Wicked children who turn evil because of their lack of friends. This is the essence of Majora's Mask, and can be found in almost every theme the game presents. However, probably the most disturbing aspect of this game is the final boss, Majora. At the end of the game, you must fight this monster in its three different forms: Majora's Mask, Majora's Incarnation, and Majora's Wrath. This demonic beast is unlike any other boss we've seen before in Zelda games. Its wild fighting practices, the unnatural noises it screams as it's being fought, and its outright scariness is unprecedented. There are countless descriptions of players who have played this game as children, and once having reached Majora had nightmares about him. Think about it. Children playing this game, rated E10 and up, have had nightmares about fighting this thing. So what is it about Majora that's so eerie? Where did he come from? Why have we never seen him again since the events of Majora's Mask? This episode will answer all of these questions and more. So, according to the cutscene where the Happy Mask salesman explains to Link a little of the history concerning the mask was once used by an ancient tribe for wicked hexing rituals. It would bestow great power to whoever was wearing it, but it was so dangerous that the tribe sealed it in shadow so it couldn't be misused. We could try to identify this ancient tribe, but honestly, I don't really think that'll be necessary. Some theorize that the Twilight are the creators of Majora's Mask, based off similarities between the fused Shadow's helmet and the mask. But according to our timeline, see episode 1, this really just isn't plausible. Anyway, let's cut to the chase, and allow me to be frank. I think I have the answer. Majora is a demonic spirit that lives inside the mask, can take the form of the mask, and can possess whoever is wearing the mask. Okay, allow me to explain. We'll investigate this matter by analyzing certain cutscenes and gameplay. First off, let's address the point concerning Majora dwelling inside the mask. This is obvious, because near the end of the game, the mask appears to be sentient. Now, not just any random piece of plastic could fly and call people puppets. Therefore, based off this and later points that will be made, Majora is dwelling within the mask. Secondly, Majora can take the form of the mask. This is exceedingly clear just by watching the final boss battle. Majora assumes 3 forms from within the mask, while still retaining the general shape of the mask. Each form becomes increasingly difficult for Link to defeat. Thus, the second point is proved by gameplay, and we have more evidence for the first point. Thirdly, Majora can possess whoever is wearing the mask. This is evident in the actions of the Skull Kid. Now, a little backstory for the Skull Kid. As any Ocarina of Time fan should know, children who get lost in the Lost Woods become Skull Kids, and adults become Stalfos. This troublesome Skull Kid, according to Anju's excessively creepy grandmother, lost his friends, the 4 giants, a long time ago, which is why he became angry and began harassing the inhabitants of Termina. But his petty pranks became something much more dangerous when he stole Majora's Mask from the Happy Mask salesman, indicating that there's something about that mask that causes people to do things they wouldn't normally do. That's why it's said that great power is bestowed upon the one who wears the mask. The power that's mentioned here is actually Majora dwelling within the mask. Majora begins possessing the Skull Kid around the time that the defenseless child calls the moon out of the sky towards Clocktown. Since then, the Skull Kid unintentionally uses the mask for other evil things, such as turning Link into a Deku Scrub, freezing the Snowfall region in the north, and stealing Link's horse Epona. Then, at the end of the game, Majora, as the mask, discards Skull Kid, calling him a puppet. So I think we've properly identified Majora as some sort of evil spirit, demonic spirit that dwells within the mask. Therefore, I think it's time to try to identify his origin story. Some may say that because Majora is a deity, he probably existed since the beginning of the creation of Termina. According to the Japanese manga for The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, written and illustrated by Akira Himekawa, Majora was a creature that lived in its own realm, and wore special armor that granted the wearer whatever wish he desired. But everyone who came to try and claim the armor was killed by the creature. Eventually, a Link-like character appears and manages to claim the armor, and carves Majora's mask from the creature's remains. This manga tells us the origin story of both Majora as an individual and Majora's mask. Let's take a closer look at this, straight from the old notebook. According to the Majora's Mask manga, a traveler goes to the ethereal realm to track down Majora, a creature at this point, in order to obtain his magical armor that grants wishes. By pulling out a drum that looks similar to the Goron elders from Snowfall, the man managed to defeat Majora and carve the dreaded mask from his remains. What if that traveler is actually the fierce deity, but before actually becoming the fierce deity? What if by defeating Majora he attains the status of the fierce deity? That would explain the similarity between Link with the fierce deity mask on, and the traveler from the manga. So, if this is true, then Majora, just a spirit at this point, takes refuge inside the mask the soon-to-be fierce deity carved, and the mask somehow falls into the hands of an ancient tribe, then moves from the tribe to the Happy Mask salesman. The Skull Kid steals the mask from the Happy Mask salesman, resulting in the events of the game. The fierce deity, realizing the danger Majora presents as a spirit in the mask, carves a mask of himself, hoping that one day it'll fall into the hands of a worthy hero, which happens to be the hero of time, Link from Hyrule. All of this culminates in the final battle in the moon, which results in the permanent death of Majora. Because Majora is killed for good, that explains why we never hear from Majora again. The mask gets returned to the Happy Mask salesman, who eventually dies, which explains why it can be found in Breath of the Wild. There's just one question though. How did the mask get into Link's house in A Link Between Worlds?
Best of all, the manga Zelda series is completely authorized by Nintendo, but unfortunately it's not considered to be canon. Another thing to consider is Majora's connection to the royal family of Akana, and the only reason I bring this up is because of this.
While fighting Majora's incarnation in the moon, you see him dancing in a manner identical to that of the Redeads in Akana Canyon.
Could this small shred of similar characteristics possibly display any connection between these two parties?
The royal family has a pretty suspicious aura, emphasized by the fact that one of the composer brothers, Sharp, tries to kill Link when he first arrives in the catacombs of Akana. Also, according to the inhabitants of Akana Canyon, they were cursed to live in undead forms by the Masked One. This undoubtedly references the Skull Kid, wearing Majora's mask, or, perhaps as it should be called, Majora the Mask. Because there is conflict and strife between Majora's mask and Akana Canyon, due to the deeds of the possessed Skull Kid,
I don't think there's a connection between Akana and the mask. So in conclusion then, Majora is a spirit dwelling within the mask, and can therefore possess those wearing the mask, and change the general form of the mask for combat purposes. Majora truly is a unique being with its own characteristics. And that reminds me, we still need to figure out his gender. His or her gender, I guess. Its gender.
Majora sounds like a feminine name, but his or her physique in the game looks rather masculine. Traditionally in Zelda games the villains are male, such as Ganondorf, Vaati, and Yuga? Is that a boy or a girl?
I guess I can't use that as an example then.
Exceptions to this rule have been seen, but female adversaries are typical. Perhaps Nintendo threw Majora in there as a female boss just to spice things up a bit, but then again, maybe not. However, based off the things we've seen in this episode, we can conclude that Majora has no gender. Since Majora is a mask, and masks are genderless, Majora is therefore without a gender.
Well, thank you for watching this second episode of StuntBunny Gaming. We can close this episode out with a happy ending now that we've properly identified Majora and his evil mask. But remember to subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and suggest it to every living person on this planet that you know, even if you don't actually know them. Just recommend it to everybody, on everything, all media outputs and inputs. Recommend it to everybody. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you again in the next episode.
Farewell.